So, yeah, I mean, Hannah today, I think, looks absolutely fabulous, and I'm so proud of her. Normally see her in a football shirt and jeans, and yeah, she's like that. Probably be the last time I see her like that, maybe, if she's back into. But no, really, really, really proud of her. I know it's customary to say a few anecdotes about your daughter.
No.
And I think sometimes people find it a bit of a struggle to think of something to say, but I know you're all waiting to get to the bar at some point, so I thought, well, I'll just pick 3 or 4. And I think most people would know Hannah as Hannah the football supporter. And I think they say football's a religion, and I think if football's religion, then Hannah's a fundamentalist, because she takes it very, very seriously. I mean, I've occasionally used David's season ticket to go to Spurs, and Hannah told me she would never, ever do that. That is really beneath the pale. But, you know, I've done it. But if you get involved with fundamentalists, as you know, you can get in quite a lot of trouble. And Hannah's got me in quite a bit of trouble, or potentially at football matches. I'll mention but 2. One was 1998. Arsenal were at Villa Park playing Aston Villa. 40,000 people back in this stadium, and there's 500 gooners sitting behind the goal at one end. And it started off very well. We were 2-0 up at half time, and then disaster struck. It was Christmas, and they had a bloke down up as Father Christmas dropping on a parachute. And as he sailed down, with horror, we saw he wasn't making a pitch, he actually hit the top of the stand, which must be, I don't know, 80, 100 feet. And the parachute wrapped round him, and he went thumps right onto the pitch where he lay. And in fact, he did survive it, but he was hospitalised from well, anyway, he was laying there. We weren't far away from it. And normally half-time's 1/4 of an hour. And of course, Arsenal went in 2-0 up and ready to go. And they took, well, half an hour to get this bloke, enough to get him in an ambulance. So by that time, half an hour's gone by, and when the Arsenal came out, they'd forgotten how to play. So it went 2-1, 2-2, and then 3-2 to them. And any of you that go to football know there is a chant that football fans do when that happens. When it switches round, there is a horrible chant. And we looked up, and above us were sort of 10,000 of these Villa supporters and 500 of us, and they started chanting, and I won't use the actual word, but you can guess it. You were 2-0 up and you mucked it up. You were 2-0 up and you mucked it up. And most of us got further and further into our jackets and sat there, but Hannah suddenly leaps up and said, "What are you doing?" So I said, "Hannah, what the bloody hell are you doing?" You know? And I said, "We all go out of the same exit. We all." And she says the famous words, "Don't worry, they won't attack a girl." And I said, "Well, they might attack her father." For just a moment, I did think of actually sending her out to the car park first, and then, but I didn't. There were so many of them. One other one, Old Trafford. We parked the wrong side of Manchester United's ground. When we came out, that meant we had got to walk right the way across all this, thousands of them going the other way. And again, when you go past opposing fans, you get the usual stuff. You were crap, you were rubbish. And anyone with any sense ignores it. You walk straight on though you can't hear it, you know. But we get there, and Hannah decides to have a debate about it. She's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. We're not rubbish." And this bloke, his mate, joins in, and suddenly, you know, and then a policeman turns up. "What's happening?" So Hannah says, "I've had enough of this. I want him arrested." So now we've got 2 policemen, 2 Man U blokes. He makes a grab for him, bloke runs off, whoosh goes the rope, and there's chaos. There's people pushing and shoving. I said to Hannah, "It's time to go to the car, Hannah," and off we went. So probably somewhere in Manchester, there's still something on file for wasting police time or something. I don't know. The other thing I would think about Hannah is Hannah and money management. She is brilliant at money management. When Hannah lived at home, every single bill was on my bank account, direct debits to anyone. And it took me years to start getting them off when she moved out. I think after 5 years, I was quite on. And a couple on there that I'd thought about, and one was a car insurance. It was about 600 quid. And she'd been insured with the same people for 10 years. And I thought, never had an accident, got to get cheaper than that. So one afternoon with a spare hour, I went on one of those compare things. And sure enough, it wasn't 600 quid, it was more like 350 with her background. So I phoned Hannah up and I said, Hannah, your car insurance, which you always very defensive then, very defensive. Why are you asking about my car insurance? I said, you can get your car insurance an awful lot cheaper. And she says, you can't. I said, Hannah, you can. You can get it a lot cheaper. You can get it for nearer 350. She said, you can't. She said, you cannot get it more cheap. She said, it's nothing. How can it get cheaper than nothing? I give one other more recent example. About how the other half live. Start of this season, we went to the Emirates first match, and Arsenal Football Club, we've got some of the highest season cricket prices in the league, decided to put it up 3%. So people normal people, were a bit upset about that. So as we walk past the director's box, which is up high and they're having their lunch, a lot of the proper fans are outside with their chant, 3%, you're having a laugh, 3%, you're having a laugh. And Hannah says to me, 3%? What's all the fuss about? It's nothing. I said, you don't pay for the ticket. So, I've got so many, but I won't go. Just one more. Just one more thing. The honeymoon.
Oh, not
the honeymoon, Hannah. I mean, in my day, you know, going back to the 1960s, honeymoons were sort of the bit you tacked on the end, and I don't know, you went to Cornwall, or in our case, you went to Calais and then toured around France for 2 weeks in 2-star hotels. But yeah, there we are. She's going to the Maldives, Indian Ocean, and flying here, and you know, lots of noughts on the end of the bill. I was telling Hannah the other day about my honeymoon, which she thought was quite funny, so I'll tell you about it.
Yes.
If you go back to the 1960s, the big event was not the wedding. It was not the wedding because you didn't have all this social media, and weddings were. I mean, we went to the local registry office, all over in half an hour, came back, buffet at a parents' house, got in the car, went off we went. None of this, you know, wedding, which venue, you know, what's on the back of the chairs, blah, 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 which goes on for weeks. None of that. The big event was the wedding night. The wedding night was the big night. The big difference was that, believe it or not, you know, I hope I'm not the odd one out, in the 1960s, people had not had sex with each other before the wedding night. In fact, most of them hadn't had sex with anyone before the wedding night. So you got these two, and that was the big build-up. And when you're firm, people used to take tremendous delight in egging you on for what was going to happen. You know, it's going to be, you can't do this, you can't do that, it won't work, don't work. And I worked in an office at Ford Motor Company, about as big as this, and we were accountants before we had computers. So we were sitting there all day, bored out of our heads, filling in accounts. And these people wanted some fun. And when they knew I was going for this honeymoon, for a week I had nothing but, you know, funny comments, and they were desperate for me to come back, obviously. And I thought, right, you know, this is going to be hard work when I come back, but fingers crossed. And of course, again with the sort of football analogy, I think, you know, the big night was a bit like a cup final. You know, everyone's big build-up, but it's never as good as it's supposed to be, is it? Now, I don't want to sound personal about that, but that's how it was so much. Anyway, no one want to comment about our cup final, but we sort of got through it. And disaster struck with 2 days to go. Real disaster. I went into a French supermarket to buy some bread, and as I came out of the supermarket, I got some change in one hand, the bread under my arm, and I tried to hold the door, and it was a big glass door with a metal edge on it, and it slammed shut on my index finger. Well, problem one was I was driving, and I had to drive back to England, and this pain went, you know. But I got back to England on the Saturday night, and I went to a local hospital, and he said, it's not good, but, you know, the first thing we need to do is stabilise it, so we'll put some plaster around it and a splint, and we'll bandage it up. So now I've got this, you know. So on the Monday morning, there I am going back to face 50 people in this office, expectantly waiting for me to come back so they can make some funny comments, and I walk in the office with this and it doesn't get much more embarrassing. So. Anyway, let's what I'd like to do now, before we do the toast, I've got a little present for Hannah, which was really Darren's idea. Because of Hannah's long association with the Arsenal Football Club and her commitment to it, he said, why don't you ask the Arsenal if they will get something signed for Hannah? So I took to the club, and not only have they got a little card done, they've done a very big card, specially done. Arsene Wenger has signed it, and every first team squad player, the main one in the middle is Santi Cazorla, saying my friend, love him. Including some of the invincibles like Robbie Perez.
No way.
Yeah, yeah. And I've got it here, if George hasn't ripped it up. And that is the card.
Thank you.
And it is signed. So, once again, really, really thank you for coming. Great to come all this far and make it such a special occasion. And perhaps we can now toast Darren and Hannah for their wedding and future life together. Darren and Hannah.
Oh, I love my